1972, my partner Norm Jacobs and I started a publishing company in Manhattan. We didn't know what we were doing. We were art directors. We both met at another publishing company where we were both art directors of movie magazines. I was doing a romance magazine of all things. And a few years later, Norman called me and said, "Kerry, you're one of these Ayn Rand guys. You like making money, don't you?" He said, and I said, "Yeah, and you're Jewish, Norman, so how about," he said, "well, let's get together and talk about starting a company," and that's what we did. We started with a soap opera magazine, which I didn't know anything about. I didn't have time to watch the daytime soaps, but I knew that they had an audience in the millions that were there 5 days a week watching shows, and there was no good quality magazine to cover that field. So we started a soap opera magazine, and after several years it became successful enough that it was making regular money, and at that point we could start to do magazines that I had more personal interest in. The kind of magazines I had always wanted when I was a kid growing up in Austin, Texas, and they didn't exist. Fangoria was our second. STARLOG, our science fiction magazine, was #1. And we had things like Frankenstein and Godzilla in STARLOG to begin with, and I said, that's not really science fiction per se, that's horror. So we started Fangoria. I came up with the title STARLOG. Norman came up with the title Fangoria. From that, we started doing a bunch of other magazines that targeted different segments of that fanboy audience, which we had discovered was not only out there and invisible to most of the world, but they were dying for the kind of product that we put out.
Excellent.
Which was not only magazines, books, and special editions that had to do with movies that came out. We became the world's #1 publisher of licensed movie magazines.
Interesting.
And Fangoria, about all those 24 magazines that we published over many years, is the only one still alive and kicking today, 40 years plus later.